Victoria, thank you for joining.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Jerome. It's an honor. I love your podcast so much.
Oh, thank you. This is awesome. I really appreciate you having you on here. And yeah, the talks that we've had previous, I really value your perspective. So this is awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I feel like we go back and forth pretty well, and you have amazing insights that I really appreciate also whenever I share. So it's a mutual exchange for sure, I feel. So my name's Victoria Aramanda. Right now I'm in Central Texas, a little north of Austin, but I do travel quite a bit and explore. Um, I am 20 years old, and and right now in my journey, I have a deep focus on inner child work, breath work, fasting, healing modalities of the body, the mind, and the spirit, kind of interconnected like that.
Which would you say first impacted your life?
Mm. I'd say, because I've experimented with quite a bit. I'd say the breath work has definitely impacted me the most profoundly, to the point where I can say, like, before I can see the clear difference from before I started doing breath work and
Mhm.
afterwards, of just a deeper awareness just throughout my day, a deeper mindfulness in all that I'm doing and the connections I share. And also a deeper resilience. Like, breathwork has kind of become like my anchor that I can always go back
Yeah.
to become centered and grounded again whenever I kind of lose my way, if you will.
It's really interesting because when you look at your page and you see yourself breathing, like, do a lot of people come to you asking questions like, what kind of breath work is that? And what is that working? Like, what are you doing out there?
honestly Honestly, not much. People kind of let me do my thing, and whenever it is invited, it's always like a very organic conversation, typically of people who are kind of already on that path and ready to receive. Like, I haven't really gotten many people that are skeptical or like, "What are you doing?" If anything, that's actually the people that know me. All the
Hmm.
strangers are very welcoming and just intrigued. But usually, I did a good job, I'd say, whenever I first started practicing, of like sharing it on my social media and just basically anyone who would listen, because it positively impacted me. So I feel like
Hmm.
um since then it's kind of been like, people think of me, they think of breath work.
Yeah, they're synonymous.
Yeah, yeah. I've always been kind of like on my own wave of sorts, doing random things in all types of ways. So it's kind of just like, what's Victoria up to now? Like, just her being her. I've
Hmm.
always kind of been like, definitely the black sheep of my family, but with friends too, they're like not really surprised at anything I do.
Mm-hmm. So you're used to it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
When I look at you and the people that follow you, all the people that follow you, and then also you see the number of people that you follow, you get a sense that you're very focused. Like, you're not about having your attention split into all sorts of different places. You're definitely about, like, okay, very intentional of who you follow, who you listen to, and the information that you consume.
And intention is key. I feel like you and a lot of your listeners probably would agree that just it's important for us to guard our subconscious mind. And with things like social media, the algorithms are just programmed for us to consume as much as possible. So I try and do my best of minimizing that. And then also, with the information that I am consuming, I want it to be something that's nourishing me and inspiring me, motivating me, not making me feel like I'm not doing enough, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so important. It's like everything is food and food is information. in every
So
form
true.
and fashion. So it's really important to be selective about, what's on your plate, so to speak, if it's
Yeah,
going
yeah,
in.
they call it the feed that you're scrolling through. The feed
Right.
is just
Ooh, I didn't even
another
know.
is another form of intentional eating, I guess.
Right. Wow. I just had to let that marinate for a second. They call it the feed. Come on now. Jeez. The truth is hidden in plain light. It's right there in front of your face.
So true.
There was something that I saw on your page that really struck me. It was like on self-confidence and
Mm.
confiding in self.
Mhm.
And you remember where
Mhm.
you posed the question, like, why would you confide in a stranger?
Right.
Yeah. Why what gave you that? How did you receive that download? Where did that come from?
So it's funny. I feel like all of the downloads that I've kind of like channeled onto my Instagram, there was like this period of time where I was kind of like in a low type of wave, if you will, and just navigating a lot of emotions in a more mindful way because I had breathwork as a tool, which I had never had before. And I just realized like I was getting more awareness about the relationship I had with myself and how I kind of avoided myself in times of stress, and I just got to be able to have a safety and become curious about why I do that, because breathwork gave me the feeling of like I'm safe in my body, so I'm
Hmm.
able to be curious rather than defensive.
Mm.
And I was just kind of wondering like why do I always like try and get away from myself by numbing via food or entertainment or calling someone that I know will just distract me in some form or fashion. And it's like, well, cuz really like I don't even know myself like that. I felt like
Mm.
I had become so distant and so um suppressed, I guess, from expressing myself. So it was like that was just kind of the standard for a long time. And it just made a lot of sense whenever I was toying with that, like why I don't feel comfortable in confiding in myself. And then I was like, oh, confidence. It's like just I'm always toying with etymology and wondering about like the spelling that we
Mhm.
use to
Mhm.
describe our reality. But yeah. Whenever I relax into a receptive space, we're always, um, I'd say like pushing out information with our thoughts, and I guess just taking time to slow down.
Yeah.
Like I find it comes after like I've done a good amount of breath work, I've stretched my body, and then I'm just on a walk
Mhm.
and just pondering about life and my experiences, and things come through that I'm currently like working through, and then I'll share it. And sometimes it resonates with other people, and I always think that's really cool because it makes me feel like, we're just all connected. And I definitely don't feel like it's me thinking of it. It kind of just like pops into my head and then flows out. And there's plenty of things that like I'll write down in my notes and then I'll look back and I'm like, that makes no sense. But sometimes it does. And then I'll say it.
So in the moment, it made sense.
Oh yeah. In the moment, I think I'm a genius. Like I think something just came through and it's like life changing.
Yeah, you know, that's funny too because, the breath is always in the moment, you know,
Always.
and the body is always in the moment,
Mm-hmm.
and fear has no place in the present moment, you know.
Right.
So these things that come in that space that you allow by making space and creating more space internally with your breath, I just think is fantastic, especially
Yes.
at your age.
Aw. Thank you. Yeah, I love that saying, no void goes unfilled. So it's
Ooh.
like if something's not satisfying us or it doesn't feel good, then you can kind of like be intentional to let it go and make space. And you don't have to like go searching for what's to come. You don't have to like desperately try and think like, oh, I need inspiration of some sort, or I need something to like post on Instagram. It's kind of just like you make the space, you make the emptiness, and something will come that matches whatever vibration you're emitting at the moment.
I've battled so many times with, do I read this book, or do I look up this video? Do I get this information,
Me too.
or do I just sit, right, in
Yes.
silence?
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. So you've had that as well, with that back and
Yes.
forth, that dance.
Yes. All the time. Still, it's not like I've had it. Like I that yeah, earlier this morning, yesterday. Yeah, that's still a thing for me, but I'm always grateful. I think sometimes, it's a balance because sometimes
Mhm.
like something will really resonate with me and then I take that into my silence and it just like it's like a compound effect.
Mhm. Okay, so you do it. You're balanced in the way that whatever comes in, you take that, and then you allow it space to integrate into your system before you let it digest before consuming more.
Yes, yes. I try to at the very least, especially when something strikes a chord in me, whether that's good or bad, like depending on how it feels in my body. Usually I want to try and make the space to see what's there because whenever things like really resonate with us, there's usually a reason.
Mhm. Earlier, you talked about also, moving your body and moving that energy, and stretching, and we always talk about how a flexible body is a flexible mind. And I
Mm.
know that you do a lot of asanas as well with your yoga. I seen you on the monkey bars, in playing, just playing again, and going back to that inner child. How do you feel like being more open with your body has opened you up to other possibilities in life?
Mm. That's you always ask the best questions. Let me sit with that one for just a few seconds. I think like just what you said, a flexible body is a flexible mind. And just there's certain energies that maybe we didn't get to express as children, like whenever you get sent to school and your body says like I want to run around and they're like nope, you got to sit down, recess is in 2 hours, and this
Mm-hmm.
just gets stored and all this like restless energy that kind of like I feel like sometimes prevents me from sitting with myself. So movement is just the best way sometimes to channel it out, and I feel like it also like helps me develop my mindset whenever like I'm working with my physical body. So like for the asanas, for example, I used to be in cheerleading and the focus was always on what it looks like. Like you want to
Mm-hmm.
have the perfect splits, you want to have the prettiest of postures and whatnot, versus yoga and mindfulness says, how does it feel in your body? What are the
Yeah.
sensations? And like literally like breathing life into these muscles that you don't usually use all the time. And so I feel like that translates nicely into I'm focused less on how do other people see me versus how do I feel about myself right now and like
Mm-hmm.
what's really in my body.
So less judgment on the outside and more awareness on the inside.
Exactly. Yeah.
Would you say that you have a favorite, or posture or form of movement that you are fond of?
Um Really just stretching. I don't follow necessarily like yoga sequences. I do enjoy it whenever I have a guide, but usually whenever I'm alone, I find myself just stretching deeply for long periods of time in like splits and in my back and just in all the areas where I want to feel like more openness. It'd be a similar practice to yin yoga where it's just like extended time sitting in a posture. It's a meditation of sorts, I feel.
One thing that I know you do a lot as well is you're constantly getting yourself out into nature. Um, have you always been this way as a youngster, or did you develop this later on?
I whenever I was really young, like let's say like 10 and below, I always loved being outside. I grew up in Florida, so hot, humid, sunny. That was the vibe. I just loved playing in the dirt. I loved climbing trees. That was the vibe. And then I kind of stopped for a while cuz I got busy with other things and it just wasn't as concerned with it. And then once I got into, spirituality and mindfulness and vibrations and all this stuff, like it just made sense. I want to be outside. I want to be like with the trees and just kind of like in a more receptive space because we can learn so much from nature and you don't feel judged. You just get that sense of acceptance. One of my favorite
Hmm.
things is going into the ocean and, just letting your belly out, you breathe, you just know,
Hmm.
the ocean loves you no matter what.
Right.
No judgment.
Yeah. Some people have even coined the term ocean therapy.
Oh, yes. Such a thing. Oh my gosh.
There's something that you put on your page, and I love this, but I'd love for you to tell us what this means. The
Okay.
multifaceted creatrix.
Ah, yes. So, I mean, a creatrix, I want to say the definition is loosely just a female creator. And multifaceted. I create in so many different ways. I'm crafty. I paint, I make necklaces, I make natural care products, I write, I'm a poet. I just like to express myself and create things into form. And I do that in lots of different ways. So multifaceted.
Hmm. Was there ever moments in your life where maybe you were forced into situations that were more left-brained and you didn't feel like you fit in there? Or how did you find that you were right-brained or more on your creative side?
Mm. Yeah, so I feel like the house that I was raised in was a very emotionally phobic house. My expression, if it wasn't stoic or, calm, cool, collected, logical, made sense, then it wasn't praised. If I was emotional or reactive, then I would kind of get sent to my room or ostracized, or I would just have to navigate it alone. So I kind of repressed that for a long time and I was super logical. I thrived in like very very left brain fields of debate and math and just
Mm.
things like that. That's what lit me up because that's kind of how I got validation as a child.
Oh,
That's what was
okay.
praised. So stepping into the more right brain, I feel like it's actually kind of funny that a lot of the things I do, I still kind of have a left brain approach to creating. I do realistic oil paintings, and it's very like I'm very focused on the technique of things, and the strategy and the steps and the the logic of it. But I
Hmm.
do find that whenever I apply my left brain to creating things, um I allow myself a little more to surrender into the right brain of just also, seeing what flows and working with
Yeah.
the problems that come up.
Yeah. When it comes to painting, would you say that oil is your favorite medium?
Oil and spray paint has been the ones that stuck with me. I actually got into oil painting whenever I was 15 because my dad and I started painting along with Bob Ross. so
Mm.
so that's how I learned like how to use the oil paints, and then I've just always loved them because you can't really mess up because they take so long to dry. So if you don't like it, you can just wipe it off, try again.
Okay. Okay. So it gives you that leniency where you have a certain amount of forgiveness when it comes to your
Yeah.
oil painting.
Lots of forgiveness. And then spray paint just cuz like I've always kind of been like a little rebel. I was always doing graffiti and random things whenever I was younger, so just to keep that spark alive.
What sort of things really inspire you when it comes to the paintings that you
mm.
do?
I it's hard for me to put a point on it, but just like the colors and the expressions and just beautiful or unique looking faces. Like they don't even have to be beautiful, but if they just look like a face that I could look at forever and it really lights me up, then I'll go with it. There was actually one of my more recent paintings was this girl who's like she was like smoking a joint and she had
Mhm.
just the most bizarre look on her face. I saw it on Instagram and immediately I knew I had to paint it and
Wow.
I just DM'd her like, "Hey, I don't know if this is weird, but I'd really like to paint you." And she was totally cool about it. And yeah, it's just it really has to like put a fire under me whenever I see it and if it's there, it's there.
Wow. Wow. I felt the passion as you were describing that, that's like that's what the greats do. It's they see things that other people don't see, you know? And you reaching out to someone saying, I just have to paint you, like I just something within me is just screaming right now. That's awesome.
Thank you.
We were having a discussion one time on like superpowers and these abilities that we have within us, but don't come, I guess, as readily today as they used to. And one of the ones that you said would be fascinating is levitation. Why would you say levitation, Victoria?
Mm. I'd say just because there's been dreams that I've had or situations where I'm like underwater and just that feeling of weightlessness, like true just
Mm.
light is something so pleasurable. It's something so simple. Who wouldn't want to levitate, like to just feel like buoyancy and a connection with the air around you.
Hmm. Hmm. Have you seen The Last Airbender?
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So would that be your bending? Would you be an airbender or what?
Uh See, it'd be air fire for me because I'm very fiery.
Yeah, you're an Aries.
I am.
Right. So you do have that fire and you utilize that fire, in your different passions and pursuits. But you also, I feel, have very air nomad qualities with your traveling and just with your carefree beingness. And, also your philosophy is very, very airy. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's cool. It's cool. Like, I commend you for being able to come out of a very left-brained environment and be so creative and embrace yourself in so many ways and trust yourself, your intuition, and your ability to bring things to life in the way that you do.
Thank you so much for seeing that. I feel like sometimes I don't see myself very clearly and yeah, that's very nice to hear. I think I always like because I spent so much time alone, I really did cultivate a sense of like home within myself and that's something that I've always come back to where I just feel like I can do whatever I feel like doing.
Hmm. What developed your fascination with metaphysics?
mm. So quite honestly, the first time I took psychedelics, LSD,
Hmm.
I had just turned 13
Hmm.
and that was kind of my drug of choice as I dabbled all the way up until I was 18, 19. Um, and just a lot of experiences on a lot of psychedelics. I feel like it's
Hmm.
hard not to question the basis of reality and
Right.
kind of like forcing myself. Now I can reach sensitive states just through the breath, but way back when like forcing myself into very sensitive places where like my auditory hallucinations were like so crazy that I couldn't hear what someone was talking to me, but I could feel the energy of what they were saying and
Mm.
respond. And like, I feel like that just really like sparked something in me. Like, there's so much more than meets the eye. And
Hmm.
I just wanted to know and study, like, what is that?
So say that again. You couldn't hear, but you could feel?
Yeah, so like so sometimes whenever I would be like on higher doses and I would be with a friend or I would bump into someone and they would speak to me, it would sound like like just crazy.
Hmm.
But I would be able to feel like I would be able to feel what they were saying. Yeah, literally it is the funniest thing.
But you knew what they were saying?
Yeah, yeah, and I could respond like very stoically.
Wow. Wow. How do you explain that?
Synesthesia.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, it's I'd say a common side effect of psychedelics where, like you were actually talking about synesthesia in one of our chats earlier, like smelling sounds and
Hmm.
feeling like with my body the
Right.
words.
And like hearing colors, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Uh-huh.
It's amazing the things that our senses are able to pick up in so many unique ways. Yeah.
It really is. It really is. And I truly believe that like in the state of a baby, it's just pure intuition. Like every cell of their body is seeing, smelling, tasting, feeling, all of it.
Hmm. Do you feel like you're tapping back into all those senses today? Like you're just continuing to maintain that and sustain that in your own way?
Um, Slowly but surely. Some days I feel like, wow, I'm very sensitive today, and I can kind of pick up on just little nuances whenever I connect with other people. And then other days it's like I'm kind of zapped back out, more in a survival state. It comes in waves for me, just because
Mm.
it takes, after so many years of our nervous system being in one state, I feel like it would make sense that it's going to take a good amount of years to get back to a place of sensitivity.
You know, you talked about how with psychedelics you were able to explore so much, but then when it came to breath work, you reached a level or a feeling that was so much more, just like leagues above anything when you weren't sober. Can you speak on how you felt and how maybe if there were any moments you can remember where you were like, wow, this is the real high?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I'd say, um, so tapping into the breath work, whenever I first started, I went super hard. I did like at least an hour a day, every day for like a week, and then I stopped. And I felt the clear difference of all the subtleties throughout the day. I was just, whenever I didn't do the breath work, I was more irritable, more anxious, just on edge in so many ways. And I realized, that's how I've been living for years.
Mm.
Until like a week ago when I started doing the breath work. So I stuck with it. And the more you breathe, the less you want to eat because it feels better to breathe when you're empty. It's like super pleasurable. So I was fasting and I was doing breath work, and I reached this place where I just remember this one specific day, and it's still like stands out to me so clearly, where I was on a walk and I was very sensitive. I felt like every cell in my body was like on just in an awareness mode of like I was feeling the wind, I was communing with the plants as I walked by, like I felt like the nature was like flirting with me, like telling me like go on,
Mhm.
get it girl, like you're on the right track. And it was it was what they call, like, I feel like I experienced like just a couple minutes of what they call like pure passenger consciousness, where my mind was
Oh,
just watching everything that was going on and not thinking about anything, not doing anything, and my body just knew where to go. My body was
wow.
moving and it was functioning exactly how it needed to do, and I was just kind of watching it happen, and it was like just pure bliss. And I feel like that was just kind of a glimpse. I've heard other people's stories where they kind of have that state for weeks or months at a time, or states that kind of go beyond that, if you will. And I would just say comparing it to psychedelics is like psychedelics give you like what they say like the out of body experience,
Hmm.
where you just like you feel like your mind is so expanded and yada yada yada, versus breath work brings you deep deep into your body. And
Mm.
as a lot of people know that study metaphysics and spirituality, the subconscious, the body is so powerful. It's like
Yeah.
literally our bodies are made up of every single material in the universe. So it's silly to think like it's just this meat suit of sorts.
Right.
So tapping into that was really profound for me. And since then it's kind of like there's nothing that I want to do more than that.
Wow. That's beautiful. Do you ever wish that other people could feel that?
Definitely. Definitely, because I had a couple aha moments where I just realized, like whenever my body is pure, this is just how it feels naturally. Like I don't have to do anything. I don't have to take anything external. I'm just breathing and not eating and enjoying my day and feeling amazing. And I understand like I had never experienced that before, and there's people in their 40s, 50s, people that die and never experience that true like sobriety.
Right. Right. We know there's a saying in Taoism that in non-doing, nothing is left undone,
Yes.
you know? And so just hearing your account of what happened to you, that you were able to completely become the observer,
Mm,
and that you elevated beyond the physical by going internal,
mm.
with the breath. So that's tremendous, you know. Gee. And it's right here with us. It's always been here,
Yeah, that's
you
kind of the
know.
funny part that really like kicked me in a sense, is like I did all these drugs and had all these experiences, and then the most profound thing to me was breathing.
Hmm. When it comes to like inner child work,
Hmm.
what is something that you feel people underestimate about inner child work?
Something I'd say the thing that I want to speak on about inner child work is just that the constant mind chatter that most people have is the internalized voice of our caregivers. Like whatever we heard growing up, that's going to be what we tell ourselves, and the tone in which we speak to ourselves. And we know how powerful the mind is. What you think is what you become. And that's just
Hmm.
period. It makes sense. And so inner child work is just about becoming your own mother, becoming your own father, and giving yourself the things that you needed and did not receive. And there's a lot of trial and error in that, just because it's really hard to be a nurturing mother to yourself. If you don't know what that looks like and you don't know what that feels like, and it's just uncomfortable territory. Um, yeah. And I'd say people underestimate it because just by changing the way you speak to yourself and the way you see yourself, you can change every single thing in your life. The people that I speak to most often about this type of stuff are typically like late 20s to mid 30s. That's like the type of people that I find myself connecting with on social media and like really vibing with. And but just the same, there's a good amount of people my age that are doing the work and that are aware of like healing trauma and nurturing the inner child and all those fun things. There's even a couple like there's actually a 16-year-old I know who's like on the breatharian wave and urine therapy wave,
Wow.
and he's something else. So I wouldn't say I feel like the older generation is kind of like leading the way and really inspiring people my age that we can do it, because these are people who are like in their 30s who had like 20 plus years of conditioning and still saying like you know what, like I can change my life, I can heal my body,
Hmm.
and I can cultivate like this energy and become sensitive again. So people my age that have kind of been discouraged maybe feel that like, okay, well, they're trying to do it, so I can try and do it too. And it's a very
Hmm.
safe space and welcoming space. So I feel like more
Yeah.
and more um people my age will start joining, but as far as like the people I've connected with, it's more so a little older than me, just a little.
Hmm. So would you say that the future is looking bright in that aspect for the
Oh,
next generation?
so bright. Yeah, I would definitely say that, especially just people becoming more attentive to nurturing their inner worlds, because I just feel like if we can do that, then we can be better parents, and then it just keeps on compounding.
Yeah, and keeps on trickling and rippling.
Yeah.
You know, we never know how far these ripples that will go when we have this profound impact on our own lives. You never know whose lives you are affecting.
Yes, and that's so true. And that's kind of something that really inspires me. Oh, and something that like whenever I want to do like, or whenever I'm practicing inner child work, is like I just think of like, well, like what would I want to give like my daughter or my son in this moment if they were feeling this way or if they were speaking this way to themselves, and then moving from that space to kind of like really make that quantum leap of like
Hmm.
healing generations, you know? That's how it's done.
Hmm. Oh, so that's a great one. So asking yourself the question of what would I say to my son or daughter?
Yeah, yeah, because sometimes like I feel like it's easier to give more compassion to something that we perceive as external versus ourselves.
Hmm. Very true. Victoria, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I feel like you and I could just go back and forth about a million different topics, and you always ask the best questions.
We can, and I'm sure that we will again. You know, if you'd like to come back on again, I'm sure there's so many topics that we can continue to
Yes,
cover.
absolutely.
Um, yeah, I just once again really appreciate the way that you think and the way that you feel, because, this is all off the dome. None of this is scripted. It's just coming from your heart, and I just enjoy the way that you put things together. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. I feel the same way to you. I feel like you're just extremely like quick-witted and know exactly where to lead the conversation. So it's a pleasure.